Casual tutorial time. Anyway, this episode is going to be a little theoretical, so I hope you like that. If you like theoretical episodes, this will be a fun one. But the first thing that I want you to consider is what's the difference between front style tricks and side style tricks. Okay, so side style tricks. You know what side style tricks look like, right? You know, side style tricks, okay, and front style tricks. Okay, what's the difference between a front style trick and a side style trick, other than me flubbing my binds? The obvious one that you're probably thinking of first is the direction of the spin. When you do side style, you're playing in that direction. Like you threw the yo-yo in that direction, the yo-yo is spinning in that direction. And when you're doing front style, the yo-yo is spinning in the opposite direction. Hit the bind that time. But that's only one of the differences. The other difference that you don't think about too much is hand orientation. When you're playing side style, your hands usually both point forward. Right, so unless you do some small different variations, your hands are going to be facing forward, right? So I'm going to mess up a little bit, but your hands are facing forward. And I guess in this case, I curl this hand in to make sure the hand, like the yo-yo stays, like the string stays on the hand. But for the most part, most of the tricks involve the fingers sticking forward, whereas in front style, the hands are facing each other most of the time. They're facing the same direction very rarely. Okay, so this is a concept that I call hand orientation, and it leads into a lot of interesting stuff like I've heard it called gorilla style when both hands are facing each other. So I don't know a lot of good gorilla tricks, but something for you to consider if you're trying to find new ground that you're trying to break. Consider what happens if you do your tricks with your hands facing you, either facing up facing you or down facing you. Those are things you can try doing. But the interesting thing that I want to talk about in this case is when only your throw hand is facing in. Well, when only one hand. The throw hand is kind of the more convenient one, and it leads to a set of tricks called HUGS. Sort of the broadest definition I've seen for HUGS, well, not the broadest, but a definition I've heard of for HUGS is when you do a front style trick in your side style things. So let's say that you're in here and you're deciding to do, some sort of twist like that. You might consider that a hug because you're doing front style motions in your side style routine. And that's a good definition. That's a good enough way to think about it. But also, HUGS have a very sort of specific feel to them. So often, even if it's not literally a front style trick, often you can do other tricks that take advantage of this hand opposition stuff to make sort of interesting combinations that feel and look like HUGS, even if they're not literally front style moves. So one example that's fairly straightforward is that if you've been yo-yoing, you probably know how to do flips on your side style, and those are kind of, broadly speaking, those are kind of HUGS. Those are kind of the easiest HUGS you can do. They don't really feel and looks like HUGS, so I don't think it's necessarily appropriate to call them that, but you sort of get the idea. Like one hand is facing in because otherwise, if your hands were facing each other, you would not be able to get the flip to work. In order to get the flip to work, you have to move your hand so that they're opposing each other. And yeah, that goes for both directions of the flips there. Okay, so now after all that exposition, let's cover 2 or 3 basic HUGS. Some of which you might find useful, some of which you might not. When doing speed combos, often you want to have a way to get from your sort of 1.5 mount into your Mach 5 Kamikaze mount. And the way that people do it in their speed combos is by doing HUGs. If you watch a speed combo being done by a pro, you'll notice at points they curl their hands around each other in, there are basically two directions you can do it. And those are basically HUGs. So sort of just going to give you a couple sort of basic HUGs that I can't do very fast because I'm not very practiced at them, but if you practice, you'll be able to get them faster and you can incorporate them into your speed combos. So, first of which, get into a 1.5 mount, curl this hand under like this, and now you're in the Mach 5. Okay, that's sort of an easy one. If you can learn to do that quickly, then that could be an interesting thing to work with. Basically, that gets you into the Mach 5 mount from the 1.5. So, last time I'm repeating that, you curl this hand around. Now you're here, and then from here, you're in the Mach 5 mount. Do whatever you want there. Another one of these speed combo ones that's a little more difficult for me, so I might not be able to get it right on the first try, is you can do this from here, you spin it this way, or you can do it from a Z-flip, you bring it across, do it from there, bring it across. Anyway, basic idea, you bring it over, you curl this hand in, you put this ring in the gap, and then the hard part is making sure that nothing gets tangled up. And you end up in a Mach 5. Okay, so let's see if I can do that again. So you're in 1.5, bring it across, there, Mach 5. You can do your Mach 5 stuff now. Okay, so those are two HUGs that you see used a lot in speed combos. If you want to get good at speed combos, you should learn those. Okay, I'm not very good at them, so maybe if I practice more of those, I'll be able to actually do an actual speed combos video. But for now, those are two HUGs that you should learn. You should use those concepts when you're building your speed combos or other, just sort of side style combos in order to transition between, I guess what I'm going to call the 1.5 sorts of mounts and the Mach 5 sort of mounts, because they are sort of broadly different and you need ways to connect the two of them. Now, okay, if that was too complicated and too difficult, the good news is that I have one more HUG that I like that I've been working with that is actually pretty easy, okay? And I'm considering it a HUG, you might not, but anyway, the idea for this HUG here is, with this hand, you pluck this, and then you bring the yo-yo around the back, and then it's swinging from the bottom. You have a lot of things you can do with it. You can mount it onto this back string from behind, and that brings you into a bucket. And you can do what you want with the bucket. You can also, when it's coming across, you can mount it onto the front string over everything from the back, and you end up in a triangle. You can lift some weights with that. So that's fun. And there are just, a lot of cool stuff. You can even just remount it back where you started, or, there are lots of things you can do with that. So that is something that personally I would say is pretty fun. So you can work on that. And I guess one more HUG to consider, sort of if you look up on Google HUGS yo-yo, this is the HUG you're going to find. This HUG is, so you grab the string here, you bring it in, and then you want to dump the yo-yo out on this side. And then when it swings across the top, you can either mount it on the front string or on the back string. When you mount on the back string, you can do it as a repeater. So just to repeat this last HUG, okay, so you start in the trapeze, you grab across, bring this here, you dump out on this side, and then when the yo-yo comes across the other side, you can mount it wherever you want. You can end up in a brother mount, or you can end up back in that sort of Z-flip looking thing. So, anyway, hope you liked it. I tried to keep this one a little simple, a little more theoretical, so I hope you like that. If you enjoy the videos, subscribing on YouTube is a great way to let me know that I'm doing okay. Liking it on YouTube or Reddit is good for me. You can do those things. Leaving comments, I like when you leave comments. Comments are good, whether they're good like, hey, you're doing a good job. Those are fun comments. Or even if they're bad comments saying, oh, I don't like what you're doing, you're ruining the world, whatever. Also, you can put dislikes on the YouTube page or on the Reddit page, but I ask, please, if you're going to do that, please tell me what I'm doing wrong, because if you give me a dislike without telling me what I'm doing wrong, then there's no way for me to improve. That is literally just you being mean. Okay, and being mean is not fun, so if you're going to leave a dislike, let me know what I'm doing and how I can improve. Anyway, if you have been liking it, thanks.